Welcome back, everybody. I am Tamika Chapman, and today I am introducing to you Fred Amrein, who is the founder and CEO of PayForEd. Today's presentation is titled Implementing a Student Loan Assistance Benefit to Recruit and Retain Talent. Hi, Fred, how are you?
Hey, Tamika, how are you? Nice to meet you today.
Thank you so much. So the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, let's get going. I want to thank everyone for joining me today and for today's presentation. We're going to cover a lot of information. There's a new hot topic for companies that are looking to add this in. It's specifically important in this tight job market with the great resignation situation going on, but about 70% of the educated workforce now coming in will have student debt. So more and more companies will be adopting this benefit, which will cover both student loan repayment, loan forgiveness. And what's going to be overlooked here that we do here at PayForEd is looking at the people incurring debt. So what's very, very important when you're looking at this for financial wellness, for financial stress of your employees, is having a broader view and not just focusing on the people that have student debt. So just a quick overview of what we're going to be doing here is a quick overview of what's going on in the landscape, what is changing, and then how does this affect both the employer and the employee's return on investments? And then if there's questions, please use the chat box and we'll be able to answer those once we go back to the gallery format. So just a little bit about PayforAd. We are a software company that specializes in student loan repayment, loan forgiveness. We are a quality partner for CFP. We've been that since 2018. So for financial advisory firms or financial advisors or tax professionals, we have the courses and designations that you need to get in or add this into your business. And again, it's covering a much broader section here. And what's most interesting, we were really focused on in that area as the financial advisor side, but as we're seeing, and with the new legislation that's happened in the last 18 months, more and more companies are going to be adding this in to either complement their wellness platforms or to be compliant to the new what's called Secure 2.0, which will be linking student loan repayment to your retirement planning and your company contributions to retirement planning. So there's a lot of activity. It's a very important part. The downside to this is there's not been a lot of conversations in the last 2.5 years because of COVID. It's been out of sight, out of mind. What happens coming up, though, currently what's being planned is in September of this year of 2022, the restart will happen. So we're going to see a lot of changes. We'll see a lump sum forgiveness probably. We're going to see Secure 2.0. There's now a tax-free benefit. And we're going to cover all these things in this presentation. I think when you go through this process, what makes PayForEd different, it's a view that we try to promote to our customers and clients, is that you need a more holistic view. So when you look at student debt, we can't just be solving it, being reactive to the situation. We have to be proactive. And what I mean by that is when people talk about the 45 million that are in loan repayment, there's actually 4 major areas of that. You have about 6 million people that are probably trying to plan for it. That would be your middle school and high school parents. Could be your grandparents trying to see how they can help people. That will be one group. Then about 2 million students each year will go to some type of post-high school education. So it's not just always college education. This could be a technical school. This could be a community college. But there's around 2 million students who will move on to some type of post-high school education that you're going to have to pay for. Then there's around 20 million that are actually in college that we're looking at. They're making ongoing decisions on repayment, maybe still incurring the debt and all of that information. And an actual number of people in repayment is around 22 to 23 million. So we hear all these big numbers. Not everyone's in repayment, but student debt is actually a big part of that. And the answers for each one of these will be different. And it's very similar to your taxes in the sense that each answer is custom to you. So if you make more money, or maybe you have more children, or maybe where you work or the type of work you do, your scenarios could be different. And when we go through the college process, it's described in very general terms, and everyone thinks they qualify for everything. And in reality, it's very specific to each individual and family. When you look at what solutions are out there in comparison on this student loan assistance benefit, when you HR or the SHRM organization did a survey around 2 or 3 years ago, and they expect this benefit to go from about 7 or 8% today up to about 35% in the next 2 to 3 years. So this is going to be a major piece for your employees, for recruitment, for retention, for your financial service companies that are going to have to provide this benefit, for your HR people to be trained, and a new part of this for being part of people's financial lives. As I said, 70% of the workforce, the educated workforce, will now have student debt, and this is where this comes into play. Now, what's very different too is this holistic view that PayForEd has versus the legacy companies. Most of the companies that are in this space primarily focus on employees that have student debt. So if we were doing a survey of 100 employees and now we looked at it, we could have a much higher participation level, a more inclusive benefit if we include other pieces. So as we saw that holistic view of who's in what space, we could have people that are planning for college. We could have people that are trying to make that college decision. With the new world that we live in, are we now trying to maybe go back and get an advanced degree or just finish our current degree? Maybe our spouse is making that decision, or we have children that are making that decision. The best way to save money is going to be having them graduate on time. But on the repayment side, we're seeing this gigantic swing in repayment methods, which is moving towards income-driven repayment methods. And when you do that, that changes the process of looking at the person that only has student debt to now having to change that to looking at the spouse. And this view can deliver thousands of dollars to your employees if it's done correctly without any salary increases. It's, again, just giving them the right information to make the right decision. A lot of the traditional programs are kind of check the boxes. And what I mean by that is that prior to some of these new laws, you could give an employee $100 if they had student debt, and that would pay down that amount. That was effective, but that was considered salary and taxable on both sides, the company and on the employee side. Under some of the new rules, it's a reimbursement and it's tax-free if you follow those rules. So again, another significant amount of changes that are going on in the college funding and student loan repayment side. This is a recent survey by the Association of CPAs. And as I just said earlier, that the current benefit is around 7 or 8%. It's expected to go to about 30 to 35%. But if you notice here, this was employees under the age of 35. The third most demanded benefit was student loan repayment assistance. So health benefits were first, which seems pretty practical. Paid time off, another big thing. But before retirement planning and before working remotely was student loan assistance. This is a big stress point for many people for impacting their financial futures. And that's where the legislation has started to adopt and recognize the problem. So we're now seeing a tax-free benefit that didn't exist prior to COVID, which was part of the COVID that's now been extended. We've seen now with Secure 2.0 that we're waiting for approval. It's been approved by the House. It should be approved by the Senate shortly. We're going to be dependent on student loan identification of how much student debt a person or employee has, how much repayment they have, and then can the company match that, because the employee is under so much financial stress that they're unable to participate in the retirement plans. And so what the government's now allowing is this to be part of that Secure 2.0. That's going to change how companies allocate their contributions and also how employees pick their benefits. In the last, say, 6 to 18 months, we've seen significant changes due to COVID and the recognition of how much student debt is really affecting people. Now, that's been marvelous in the sense that we have all these new laws, but with the continual extension of the national forbearance, we haven't seen them implemented as quickly as possible because many employees still don't have the payment of repayment. And that will start on September 1st of 2022. Under these new laws, part of it was built into COVID. There's a tax-free benefit. It's under Section 127 plan. It's under the tuition reimbursement. And a company can offer up reimbursement up to $5,250 per year for an employee that has student debt. So if you're making repayments, the company has the flexibility to reimburse up to $5,000, $5,200, or up to say $3,000. They can make the program as they designed. The maximum limit though for this tax-free benefit is $5,250. Now, if you are an employee that maybe you're getting tuition reimbursement and you're going to now go after student loan repayment. So an example would be, I'm going to finish my degree, say in May, and I got reimbursed $4,000 for my tuition for the semester. And now I'm going to start going into repayment. I can only get a total of $5,250. So that's the maximum exposure that a company can have per employee that participates. Now that's the first part. Now that expires on 12/31 of 25, and everything that we've heard is that it's going to be extended past that amount or that date. Another recent program, and this is specifically for your government employees and for your employees that work for the nonprofits, there is a new what's called the limited waiver program. And this is supposed to affect about over 500,000 people. And these are people that were previously denied public loan forgiveness. Typically, they're going to be employees that are 35 and older and that work in or employed by one of those type of companies. They have to be approved or be working for, actually paid by the nonprofit, the 501c3, or a government agency. You cannot be a contractor. You actually, your W-2 has to reflect that employer. That will let you qualify for loan forgiveness if you have the proper work history, the proper debt structure, and our current savings per employee right now is $121,000. That is what this is worth. So everyone's worried about this lump sum. There's some great programs out there that now can benefit your employees, and it's just awareness. People who were previously denied don't think they qualify anymore. This program fixes a lot of the problems that were happening prior to this. As I mentioned before, Secure 2.0 is supposed to be approved pretty soon. It already has House approval. It's gotten some approval in the Senate. We're waiting for the reconciliation to happen, but this will probably be something that'll happen by the end of the year of 2022. And it will, in most cases, change how companies make their contributions to the retirement plans for their employees, and also an awareness that the employees will need to do something to show that they have the expense. As I mentioned before, one of the biggest issues too is the change in repayment. There's been a significant change on how people pay their student loans back. Over 54% of student debt dollars are now used what's called an income-driven repayment method. Unlike a traditional loan, like your mortgage or car payment, each payment typically will have a principal and a interest payment based on the note. So it'll be based on interest rate, how long you took the loan out for, what the amount that you borrowed. That's a traditional repayment. Because debt has gone up and public loan forgiveness is qualifying or uses one of these what's called income-driven repayment methods, these repayment methods use your income. So this, again, adds another level of complexity, but it will be based on how you file your taxes, who has the debt. So as an example, if you have a couple that's making $150,000 and one's making 50 and one's making 100, and let's say the $50,000 one has the debt, if they file their taxes married and joint, their payment would be based off the 150, where if they file their taxes married and separate, in most cases, it'd be based off the person who's making the 50,000, and that numbers can be a lot lower. Now, the problem we see here is that the loan servicers legally cannot give you any personal financial advice, yet your monthly payment is fully dictated by how you file your taxes, how you manage your pre-tax benefits, and all those type of things. So this is another trend that is causing problems for employees to be compliant and to again maximize the benefit they have. So here's a quick case study to show you what I mean. Here's a married couple. This person, she was a teacher, he was a business person. He had gotten a significant increase. They'd always filed their taxes married and joint. So they had looked at public loan forgiveness. She was a school teacher for 4 years. And now he got this big increase. And now they're saying, okay, what's our monthly payment? They expect their monthly payment to go from about $350 to almost over $700 because of his increase. So if they file their taxes married and joint and they pick the 25-year payment, their monthly payment would be $457. That was option one. And that's not going to change if they file married and separate or married and joint. But if they file married and joint, their payment's going to go to $759. But if they file married and separate because she was the school teacher making $50,000, this is where they're going to have a benefit of, she would go down to $130 a month. And now when we factor in all the taxes, the net savings per month for this couple would be $575. This gets into the information that we, as employers, need to start providing, as we saw in one of those earlier slides, looking at the household. So think of this as the employer now giving this benefit, and say it was given to the employee who doesn't have debt. At a normal company, if we're not taking this holistic view, they would never know. Where now this person here, he did get the benefit. He was able to now include his wife in it. And over the next 6 years, because she'll be done what's called public loan forgiveness, this was worth $130,000 for this family that they put in their pocket. It's a significant amount of money that companies are now can provide and help their employees maximize this opportunity. So why do we need to add this student loan assistance benefit into the new world of employment? Well, we have the repayment restart. There's been a lot of changes that we've just identified that your employees will be looking for. And there's still changes that are going on. So we've gone 2.5 years without having any payments. It'll be a big deal and big shock to many of them. So having them get the right information will be important. With most of the programs, the cost, at least the PayForEd program, the returns there, if you're spending a few $1,000s a year to give this to your employees, one employee, as we just saw, was worth $130,000 over the next 6 years. So the return on investment for both the employee and the employer is substantial. Now, in many cases, because it is a little difficult to navigate, one of the parts to the program that I would highly recommend is not just the software or the transaction part of the system, but offering some type of consulting fee that is negotiated and either subsidized by the company or that's employee paid. That will, again, improve the outcomes substantially. And as you can see here, think of now we're going to have this restart that someone hasn't had to make a payment in the last 2+ years. By having this resource available to them, it will reduce their stress. And in many cases, many employees are going out and searching on the net to find information. Many of these free websites are really just data collections. When you go through either college funding or student loan repayment, you have to disclose your income and assets in many cases. And really, they're just marketing research companies collecting your data and it's being sold. So by having this student loan assistance benefit, it also improves your privacy for your employees. Just a quick note here on the decisions. There's some new decisions because of these new laws. If you're a nonprofit company or government agency, again, they all qualify. If they're full-time employees and working over 30 hours, they qualify for this tax-free public service loan forgiveness. The new change here is the legacy difference. Under the new laws, you can make the payment directly to the employee, or you could send it to the lender. Now, when you send it to the lender, there's going to be transaction costs. It's more expensive. And we also have something else that's going on. We have a significant change that's happening among the loan servicers, the people that actually service the loans. Two of the major companies have now will be leaving the process and they're going into new servicers. So there's some differences going on there. In my opinion, I think it's better that you can use your internal controls because under these new rules, you can make the payment directly to the employee as tax-free. Now, they're still going to have to show that they've made the payment because under the law, it's a reimbursement and not a payment. In the prior world, in the legacy world, you could just make the payment. You had to have some justification, but because it was classified as salary and not a reimbursement, the compliance was a lot easier. We've spent a lot of time so far on understanding the employee side that has student debt, but what I want to make sure you recognize is why the PayForEd approach is a little bit different and why you need to broaden your vision here. A lot of you have, those 45s and older who are now looking to educate their children. They are the fastest growing student debt bars. People over the age of 50 are the fastest student debt borrowers. So as you can see here, this is who has the debt. So almost 25% of the debt of student loans is now people over the age of 50. We will be seeing this becoming more and more of an issue as people try to retire, and will be carrying student debt into retirement. And there's some strategies there. Again, you can be helping your employees either prevent the debt, or if they're in that situation and they're trying to retire, student debt repayment will be part of that decision. So as part of having a comprehensive plan, that holistic view that we talked about at the very beginning, you need to also be able to prevent the student debt crisis. This is where our college funding and our second tool, the in-college solution, helps employees understand, one, what's the best college, best value for my employees? How much debt can I take on? How should it be structured? And then also the employees maybe that are in school, or maybe they're considering graduate school, having a more holistic view. Maybe they don't have student debt right now, but they're considering going back. There's tools and solutions that now we can help your employees make informed decisions that are doing that. Now, at the same time, we want to make sure that we're not overwhelming the HR departments or your people. It's all a do-it-yourself environment, videos, webinars, news alerts, and all those. But also, as I said to you, each person's situation is different. You need to have customized answers. So, we're looking at different colleges that we think our children can go to, how much money maybe we saved, how much money can we afford. All of that is part of the solution that you now can provide to your employees. So here's the employee benefits. Again, it's a low cost to a high return on investment, both for employee and employers. Again, we think it's really due. The PayForEd system is really easy to implement. We can have you up in less than a week to do this. Again, depending on your situation, definitely taking this financial stress off your employees and knowing that, showing that you care for maybe one of the largest financial decisions they need to make on your own. When you look at a car payment or mortgage, there's a third party that makes that decision, says, yes, you can borrow the money. With college funding, it's such an emotional decision. That decision is really made by the people. The system is built for access and not affordability. And for companies that are looking for, just getting more information, again, we're seeing this conversion. We have a great student loan assistance portal there that gives you a lot of FAQs that we're always updating. And I think this is where we differ from a lot of different companies. We're just not trying to give a cookie cutter approach. Our whole goal is to solve the student debt crisis, both on the prevention side and on repayment side. What we try to do is understand, and what we need to do is create the answers. And on the outer rim is we depend on our customers to say, how do we communicate that to your employees? So this is a way of approach that we look at the problems that we have to work with our end users to develop the proper structures for them. So here are the features that you need to consider when you're looking at student loan assistance benefits. One, a multi-tool solution. As you see here, we're having the pre-college and college decision tool. We have an in-college, maybe graduate school tool. And then we're looking at the student loan repayment, but not just the people that have that, but that household view. I think that's probably one of the biggest changes that's happening. Having it easy to be customized for your employees to register. Get this, everyone's schedule is very busy. It's very complex. Making it easy for them to get access either through single sign-on or a customized registration page. Having the functions to be able to see, as we're seeing all this new legislation and looking at the different contributions that the companies will need to be able to control. And now we're looking at maybe some, inflation and other things. That budget controls will be important. That will be something else that people will need to consider. As I said, our system is pretty easy to implement. We can have you up pretty quickly. That's also something else. And then how much hand-holding you're going to have to do. We talked about those different types of repayment or reimbursements. Going outside of the system becomes harder versus using internal controls. It gives you a lot more flexibility on distribution and improving the situation.